The last 72 hours around crypto has been crazy, with everything starting to break out overseas and, news headlines coming out, really kind of accelerating things. Everyone is kind of concerned on how stocks will open tomorrow. We're going to definitely address that here in a bit. But I want to go over a lot of things because number one, we got a lot of targets hit, or at least close to them so far. And the question that everyone is asking now is, was that it? Are we bottomed, and are we going to have a recovery now? That's the big question that everyone wants an answer to, and ultimately nobody's going to give you a 100% certain answer on that. When it comes to the market right now, on the hourly, we're starting to see some nice green. On the daily and on the weekly and on the monthly, we are still in red across the board. The yearly still looks pretty good. XLM still up 152%, HBAR up still 72.2%, even XRP up 314%. Like, it's kind of crazy to see some of these gains still on the yearly. And it also goes to show you why time in this market is far greater than timing this market. But obviously we're still concerned because on the monthly and on the weekly and on the daily, we are still down in a big way. So the question is, was that it? And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you an answer that you might not like, but who knows? You might also like it. When it comes to the market itself, $3.16 trillion in market cap. The fear and greed index has been starting to drop. We're at 37 right now, and you guys can see that steep climb into roughly the middle of May. And then that's when uncertainty kind of hit the market, and all of a sudden we're back down to 37. The same exact levels that we saw back in April, same levels that we saw back here in February as well, back in October, back in September, back in August. Like, this is a crucial level to really kind of focus on because it's showing you how fearful the market is kind of getting at this time. And I mean, it's for good measure. I mean, listen, Bitcoin is down to $100,600, Ethereum at 2,200, XRP at about $2, and that's the bounce today, right? Like, that's off of the bounce today. When it comes to XRP and even Bitcoin, let's actually take a quick look at them, just kind of show you guys what happened today. So, Bitcoin on the daily, let me get rid of the log. So Bitcoin on the daily, we wicked down to about $98,286. On XRP, we wicked down to about $1.91. Now, if you guys do remember, I was talking about some lows being ran on these charts, and I'm glad that, you guys were able to hear me talk about that. I'm glad that everyone that was in the Discord got that update because, again, going forward, we did get a much larger swing in the market. Again, I'll talk about that, and I'll talk about those levels if we need to see any more, downward pressure on Bitcoin. Again, we'll address that. But the big thing right now is what's going to happen with this war. Are we going to go into World War III? Everyone keeps saying World War III, World War III. So number one, let's actually start off with what happened today, which was major news from Iran. This is actually from the Kabaisi letter. So Iran's parliament officially approves closing the Strait of Hormuz for the first time since 1972. If approved by Iran's top security body, shipments of 20 plus million barrels of oil per day will be impacted. What's next? Let us explain. Now, they did explain this perfectly. Let me actually go back. So I guess X is kind of messed up. It won't actually show us the thread. But essentially, to really kind of summarize this, oil is going to skyrocket in price, which impacts gas prices, which impacts the entire economy as well, because again, nobody really wants to pay astronomical prices on gas. And everyone is trying to really kind of say, all right, well, what's going to happen with this? Is this going to be exaggerated or escalated to the next key level? And that's the thing we don't actually have an answer for. We don't know what's going to happen next. Anything could happen, right? Like, nobody expected the US to launch an attack on Iran over the weekend. Nobody expected that. This is why I've always said, and I mentioned it on multiple occasions, there's some things that TA just cannot predict. That's why TA is only as good as what we actually have on the chart. But the big question is, if we do get this escalation, how will the markets look? Well, obviously the markets will get hit in a big way, but also we have heard these threats 10 times in the past, right? Like, Iran has threatened us with closure of, the Strait of Hormuz for ever, since going all the way back to like 2000. I think, I actually think that Kabasi letter did say that Iran has threatened closure 10 times since 2000, but it hasn't happened once. We shall see. Yeah, and that's the thing. We don't know what's going to happen with this next, but I still think a lot of this is noise. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I really think a lot of this is just one big show, and I do think that we are seeing a lot of big distractions away from what's actually happening around crypto, which we've talked about on multiple occasions with legislation, with adoption, things like that. I wouldn't be getting shaken out at this point, if I'm being honest with you guys. But we also have over here, Justin, U.S. intelligence officials have detected signs that Iran-backed militias are preparing to attack U.S. bases in Iraq and possibly Syria. Again, all of these big accounts are starting to push, not sourced information at all. Like, there's practically zero sources tied to this. Like, where's the source for this? Nobody knows what's true right now. So manipulation of the markets is at like all-time highs because of these big accounts that are not even providing any sources to their information. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt right now. Now, on top of that, the World War III fears. Okay, we've been hearing about World War III for the last couple days. It's been really accelerated. And we have over here, actually, from the Kabasi letter as well, that was quick. Within 1 hour of oil markets opening, the surge in prices has been almost completely erased. That's right. Oil prices are now up just plus 0.5% after the US bombed Iran. To all the people calling for World War III, the market respectfully disagrees. And yeah, that's because nobody wants World War III, and we will avoid it at all costs if we can. Now, the question is, what happens if we do see World War III? Well, number one, it's not a good thing. All right, we hate to see war. Nobody wants to see war. But I will say this. We have over here, from the Crypto Wizard, war is bullish. What if I told you the war is bullish? On March 20th of 2003, the Iraq war began, and the S&P, well, the SPX, right, index, saw a sizable correction after it had a 35% gain. Same vibes this time around. And here we actually have the Iraq war of 2003, panic selling, and then up 35+%. Yeah, war is always bullish. We've talked about this on multiple occasions. Even over here we have from Tony Edward. Unfortunately, it is. And yeah, it is unfortunate, but it is bullish. They will fire up the money printer to pay for war, which results in higher global liquidity and in turn higher asset prices. And yeah, that's just facts. It's that simple. We don't want to see this, right? It sucks. But if this is the worst case scenario, right? We go to war. The worst case scenario happens. Markets are still going to be very, very bullish. I want you guys to understand that. Now, best case scenario, all of this starts to blow over in a couple days, and deals are made, peace treaties are made as well, and markets still surge. Either way, I still think from this point on, we are going to see a major recovery of the markets. Now, could we see a little bit more pain with the stock market open? 100%. So far, the stock futures actually look pretty clean. They don't look terrible, right? Nothing's being exaggerated on price action. But we did get the weekly candle close on Bitcoin, and it was right around 100,906. So not a crazy bullish close. In fact, it was actually a close below previous resistance, which now we have to actually fight to regain. So the next major target that I'm actually looking at, we don't have to go all the way down into like the 83K region. Okay, everyone was kind of saying in my video from yesterday, oh, if we saw 80K, that's it, it's the end of the world. No, it's actually not. Still, if we look at Bitcoin, okay, even if we did wick down to 80K, guys, look at where price action actually is here. 80K is still significantly higher from where we came from, and it wouldn't even lose the macro trend. When it comes to Bitcoin, though, we don't need to go that far down. A wick down into these levels would make a lot of sense, but the next key area of interest would be about $93,234. Could we have bottomed here, though? Yeah, there's still support here. There's still a lot of price action in this range, and also we do have on the weekly a nice little fair value gap here that we just completely filled. So this could definitely have been bottomed out on Bitcoin, and we could have a much larger breakout from here. again, we take it one day at a time and we watch how stocks actually open today. Now, on top of Bitcoin, XRP. XRP hit right around $1.90, slightly above my overall, focus area of $1.78 to about $1.90. We hit, guys, this was a difference on XRP of 0.41%. This was the key area that I was looking for us to target. We got pretty close. If we are bottomed here on the market and we actually start to recover from this point on, I do expect this price action to follow. But hey, we got pretty close on these targets, which I'm very happy about. It allowed us to buy some XRP sub $2, which sub $2 now is kind of like the sub $1 from, a little bit ago, if we go all the way back to like 2021. And now we're really kind of just looking at how the markets actually open tomorrow. At the same exact time, right, I want you guys to understand how bullish the environment for crypto actually is outside of just like the fundamentals with, legislation and adoption and institutional focus. If we look at the dollar itself, so looking at the dollar itself, this is what the dollar looks like. The dollar is primarily pretty weak right now still, which is telling us that we should be bullish on risk on assets like crypto, for example. And I do think that we should be very bullish on crypto. I think that right now, taking everything into account that we already have in front of us, crypto going forward this year is still going to be very bullish, regardless of what happens next. And when it comes to altcoins like XRP, I would not be flipping bearish right now. I get it. The overall market is still pretty bearish for altcoins. But I want you guys to understand when we look at Bitcoin dominance itself, we're still at 65.60%. And by the way, we got that big surge that we wanted. We didn't go exactly as high as 66.91%. We still might get another push on Bitcoin dominance here. I don't think that we're officially topped out just yet. But we are finally getting what we wanted to see in the market. This is actually a very good thing. We're seeing Bitcoin dominance surging to the upside, and this could very well be the last major push on Bitcoin dominance before we actually see altcoin season. And like I've said many times over, July is pretty much the time frame that I'm looking at for altcoins to really kind of start to shine. Doesn't have to be a full-on alt season start, but I do think that July is when we start to see altcoins really wake up. And I said even the end of June into the beginning of July, we're starting to see major, fearful articles coming out. We're seeing the fearful headlines. We're seeing the fearful events happening. This typically happens right before the major, push on altcoins. We're seeing capitulation of the market right now. This is major capitulation while we have been consolidating, which will lead into a major recovery of the markets itself, which again, if we're thinking about, going forward, we still have the Fed's overall rate cut decision in July, which could definitely happen now with, the fear of war. It could be, a major thing that adds pressure to the Fed's decision. On top of that, going forward, we still have the stablecoin legislation bill. We also have the market structure bill. So there's a lot going on around crypto that's still very bullish that we still could look forward to seeing. Overall, I'm not that bearish at all. I'm not that fearful, and I'm not even panicky. I'm actually pretty calm right now, collective. Does it suck to see lower price action? Always. Listen, we don't want to see the price action this low. We don't want to see things crashing, but we already had our targets in mind, and if we front run them, that's fine. Listen, I don't want us to go lower, but if we do, we already are prepared for it. That's the good thing about just really kind of seeing where the market could go off of major escalations and exaggerated headlines and fear levels. So overall, to really kind of summarize things, could this be the bottom? It definitely could, right? This could have bottomed out officially. We have that nice fair value gap that we already completely filled. There's a lot of support around this area. There's a lot of demand around this area as well. Original resistance going back to November has now kind of flipped into support if you think about it on Bitcoin. We have a nice weekly close around 100.8K. Not the best close, not the worst close either. So overall, if we do go lower from here, next key target, about $93,200, which I know would be pretty rough on altcoins. And then outside of that, the next target is down here at like 83,000. We take it one day at a time. We see how the stock market opens. I'll keep you guys posted throughout the week. And by the way, if you guys do want to get dedicated weekly market breakdowns on time every single week, and also during the middle of the week as well, join the Discord down in the description below. You won't regret it. And with that being said, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.